I'd like to welcome you to this presentation on behalf of the School of Nursing and Midwifery. My name is Bernard McCarthy. I am one of the lecturers in the School of Nursing. I am also the year lead for the first year general programme. I also, previously in my experience in NUI Galway, I have been the allocation officer for all general medical nurses and the midwifery students here in the School of Nursing, and I was responsible for all allocations. So across this presentation I will give you a little bit of background on several things. One of them is on the School of Nursing. One of them is going to be on the whole issue of the modules and what you will be doing over the 4 years for the programs across the 3 programs that we run in the School of Nursing. We run 3 programs. We run the Bachelor of Nursing Science General, the Bachelor of Nursing Science Mental Health, and the Bachelor of Midwifery. These are the 3 nursing programs that we run at the school, and we have been running these for over the last 15 years within the School of Nursing and Midwifery in NUI Galway. I would like to welcome you first to looking at NUI Galway as an option with regard to your placement for the next 4 years of your career. And just here is kind of a presentation, a picture showing you some of the campus, views of the campus. This is around the library building. It's a very, very wide open campus with a lot of trees and a lot of greenery and a very, very bright area. And it's very, very close to Galway. And this is something that we'll talk about the benefits of being to NUI Galway as we go along. But you're very, very welcome today, and I hope you enjoy this presentation. And if you do have any questions or any issues over the next while and you want them, please do not hesitate but contacting the School of Nursing and by email, and that we will get through to you and we will deal with any of your concerns and issues that you may have. Or you can contact me personally and I will deal with you any issues you may have. But you're very, very welcome. So this is the image of the School of Nursing and Midwifery. It's a new building. Well, it's a new building built 14 years ago, and it's a combination of the School of Health Sciences and the School of Nursing. Everything, looking at the picture here ahead, everything on your right hand side looking at the screen is the School of Nursing, and everything to the left is the School of Health Sciences. We've got podiatry, we've occupational therapy, we've got a speech and language also in the building with us. It is a very, very bright modern building, a lot of open spaces for breakout groups. Down the bottom here I have got the web link to the School of Nursing and Midwifery, and also a link to our Facebook site, which we would recommend everybody of you to go on, and you can see a lot of stuff that's happening. And this is an interesting year with regard for the School of Nursing because of the COVID-19 has made a lot of changes, and a lot of stuff is happening online, and you will get a lot of information with regard to what's happening out there for nurses on the school website. Thank you very much. So what we're going to talk about is nursing and midwifery, and these 2 pictures really represent what they're all about. As I say, the three fields that we deal with. There is midwifery, general nursing, and psychiatry. The first picture is representation of that of the midwife. Now, I am going to give a very, very clear warning to those people who are considering midwifery. We have had over the years issues with regard to those people who have selected midwifery, and after being on the programme for a while, some people felt that actually it didn't meet what they expected. Midwifery is about the mother getting ready for her pregnancy, dealing with her pregnancy and dealing with her delivery up to the point of birth, and then dealing with them, teaching the mother how to manage the child once they're born, getting the breastfeeding, feeding, drinking and all that. But it is mainly dealing with the mother and preparing and getting the mother through that time of prenatal, perinatal and postnatal. That's before delivery and after delivery. Some of you may want to do children's nursing, which is very, very different. That's where you're dealing with the child. Midwifery, you have interaction with the child, but it is mainly through the mother. You're teaching the mother how to deal with the child, and that is a big, big difference. If it's the children that you want to deal with, well then paediatric is the option that you want. We do not do that in the School of Nursing and Midwifery, and you would have to go to one of the other schools to do that. But just a clarification to make sure you have the right thing. The second picture indicates that of either the general nurse or also the mental health nurse. The general nurse would very much have to do with the person when they are going through different stages of illness, disease, and even progressing towards death. It's very much about keeping that person comfortable, managing their conditions and helping them to the recovery phase if there's the recovery, or helping them towards a peaceful death. Nurses play a very, very important role in supporting that patient through this time, working in conjunction with the multidisciplinary team and helping them to achieve that. It is the nurse and it is the midwife who actually spends the most time with either the mother, the child during in the hospital, and also the patient at any time from the whole of the multidisciplinary team. It is the nurse that spends the most time with the patient and the greater amount of interactions with the patient. The same goes for that over the mental health patients. Mental health, we don't call them patients in mental health, we call them clients. And with mental health, you're dealing with people during a vulnerable stage of their life when they're having emotional, psychological and mental issues, and you're trying to help them to deal and come to terms with these and how to deal with them, and giving them interventions and empowering them to help to deal with the issues that are arising for them. This is a very, very different field again from general nursing, and it is really, really important for you to talk to somebody who is a mental health nurse if you are considering this. Most of us have been into hospitals and have seen general nurses at action. We know general nurses and we know what they do. Mental health nursing is slightly different. It's a lot about communication. There's less doing in mental health nursing and there's more listening and engaging and communicating with the client. With the general nurse, it's very much a doing and acting and working with the patient, whereas with mental health it's very much about communication and building up that relationships. For all of these, either midwifery, general nursing or psychiatric nursing, we are put in a very, very privileged position. You get inside that personal space of the individual. They open themselves up to you. They open up their vulnerabilities and they allow you get close to them so that you can deliver the care that they need. And this is probably one of the most fascinating and probably the most rewarding component of you being involved as a nurse or a midwife in the delivery of care to these people. It's that ability for you to be able to get close to them and get close to nearly as close as their own family do, in a very, very special way. It is a very, very rewarding, but a very, very, very hard, hard working occupation, no matter what we are going to do. It takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, a lot of patience and a lot of engagement. But it is really, really rewarding. And I will talk a bit more about that as we go along through this presentation. Okay. Why do you make a difference? Well, as a nurse and midwife, you impact on the people in so many ways. You can make a difference by giving the best possible care to these people of all ages, family groups, communities, sick and well, those dying, in a multitude of settings. It is a huge privilege, as I said, to be a part of these people's lives during a significant time in their lives, their birth, death, and everything in between. So it's from birth to death that, as a nurse, you're going to be dealing with. How you do that varies from one person to the next, from one day to the next. You don't ever know what's going to come in that door. You don't ever know what's going to happen one day to the next. It's a continuing, evolving process, an evolving story. And it is your knowledge that you gain over the next 4 years, whichever program you do, that helps you and capacitates you with the ability to do that. And that's what nursing is all about, is being able to adapt to the situations that you find yourself. And that's very much what we're trying to train our nurses and our midwives, is to be able to adapt to whatever situation that arises within their care setting. So, what do the nurses do? They care for a pregnant woman attending the antenatal clinics. They care for a woman in labour after she has had her baby. They take emergency actions to save a person's life. If you're an intensive care nurse, you're really dealing with a person in a critical care area and a critical care point of view. And this has been very obvious for a lot of you who've been watching issues over the last few while with regard to COVID-19. I see nurses having. The same goes for A&E nurses. They require very specialised skills to help dealing with these people who come in with multiple sort of conditions and tissues. We care for somebody at the end of life. This is probably, for some people, it is absolutely the most rewarding thing to do, is caring for people and being able to provide that very specialised and very, very privileged care to this person at the end of life, supporting not just them, but their families in the support that they need at this very, very difficult time. For those mental health nurses, promoting their mental health and their general health and helping them to cope with all the crises and issues that arise in their life. You help to manage a team in clinical areas. You become managers of both patients, managers of other staff, and managers of your daily work. You also learn to train with your colleagues new skills every day. Even as a qualified nurse, you're learning new skills that you can have to put into practice. Procedures and equipment continuously change within practice, and therefore when you're qualified you will continue to be learning and developing. You lead on an exciting research projects. You get on and get involved in research. There's a lot of research done in clinical practice that are critical to the ongoing management and development of care and improving care. The care that we deliver should no longer be stuck in the past. It's something that needs to be updated and kept going, and this is part of the ongoing responsibility of nurses of the future and midwives of the future. The places where you're going to work can be of a multitude. You can either work in a hospital, in the community settings, and also this career, this degree, it's also a professional qualification, and you're registered with the governing body, which is the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Ireland, and it allows you to travel the world and use what your training and your experience and your training and the qualification that you get all over the world. We have nurses from NUI Galway working probably nearly in, I suppose, about 60 or 70 countries across the world. It is a phenomenal thing that we have these people spread all over the world. And that gives you that opportunity to travel to other countries. And we would hope when you're qualified that you would travel, but once again come back. You make a difference to whom? The midwives make a difference to women and their children that are born. The general nurse makes a difference to their patients and their clients, their families. And you make a difference to your colleagues and friends. Mental health nurses change the life and give freedom and the ability to cope with their life to a lot of people with mental health illnesses. It is a very, very much broad qualification, and it allows you a lot of scope, as you can see from this. What I'm presenting here is just an overview and a few pictures of some of the facilities that we have done and some of the students in action here. This is the entrance hall to our building. As you can see, it's a very, very bright and airy building with a lot of breakout areas for students to come together during the day for group work or for just to relax around. It is a very, very well designed building specifically for that, with a lot of areas for student engagement and interaction. As you can see, there are pictures here, the top and the bottom. The two pictures on the top and the two bottom, these are students in the skills labs. We have top class skills labs which allow you to practice in a very, very safe environment and get ready for the skills that you're required, that you're going to put in practice. So it's a combination, as you're going to see, as I'm saying, talking about skills there, it's a combination of practical and theory. This course is very much a combination of the two, and I will be going on to talk about the different contents of the two of them. But you will have a lot of skill session preparing you for the skills that are required with regards to practice when you go out there. And that will be all part of your program. But you can also see the middle picture here, you've got two students who are self-directed in their learning. Nursing, unlike the arts where there may be about 10 hours of 10 hours per week, nursing has a minimum of around about 25 hours of direct engagement with lecturers and practitioners within classes, either online or on site. So you will have at least 25 hours a week. So therefore you will be doing a lot more than the person doing arts. But this is a professional qualification. By the time you qualify after 4 years, you will be able to go out there and go directly into a job in a professional, accountable role. And that's the reason why the hour requirement is much, much higher. So I'm now going to, in the next few slides, I'm going to go a quick overview of the three programs that we run in NUI Galway. And I'm going to start with the general program. The general program is a Bachelor of Nursing Science General. As I say, this is registered with the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Ireland, and therefore you get a degree from the NUI Galway, but you are also getting a professional registration with the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Ireland. These are the governing body that govern all nurses across the country. This is your accountable body who your professional standing is accountable to. The entry points from last year, and this is probably the one thing that is most important to most of you at this point, the entry points last year were 442 for round 1, and the round 3 went down to around about 440. So this is the points, and it can also be assessed and got access to by other routes, such as you might be coming in by HEAR, DEAR, or also there's the mature applicant system. And I'm going to just spend a few minutes talking about the mature applicant system. Every year we take on a large number of mature applicant students across all 3 programs, and they are once again taken on through the CEO system, the central application system, and there are very, very clear strict dates that you need to adhere to if you are applying for the mature applicant system, because there is an MCQ exam that you have to complete to get graded to where your standing is with regards to your ranking to get onto that mature applicant program. There is a lot of very clear direction to given that in the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Ireland Nursing a Career for You guidebook, which I have referenced at the bottom, the last slide, which is very, very critical for anybody going on these programs, that you look at this book to see about the programs, what they are all about, but also how you apply and the application process, especially for the mature applicants. There's a very, very specific things that are critical for that. So, what is it made up of? It's a 4-year degree program, which is made up of a combination of both theoretical and clinical. Overall, you're going to have a mixed blend across each of your years. Each year is made up of 2 semesters, and I'll go through each of those semesters as I'm going along, with the exception of the 4th year, where you go across all 3 semesters. So what is it made up of? The program is made up of clinical instructions in medical and surgical nursing, accident and emergency and specialist care, child care and pediatrics, which you take a look at the specialist. You don't actually do them fully, but you just get an indicator of what they're all about. You get an overview of mental health and psychiatry, what it's all about. You get an overview of operating theatre and maternity care. There are also practical areas which are situated in the clinical site, and I will talk about them at the next slide where it makes. There's theoretical instruction is given in the School of Nursing and Midwifery in Áras Maiola, but we are also doing some online teaching as well. On top of that, you will get a lot of biological science and social science issues, which also gives you a much more rounded and broader preparation for the role as nursing. So what I'm going to go on to do next is, with regard to the general program, is give you a look at the more specifics. So this is an overview of your 4 years, what it looks like. And as you can see on the top line where it says group year 1, what you have is, this is an overview of what a year will look like for you as a general student. And across the midwifery and the psychiatry, the breakdown of weeks will be very much the same. So what you have is, you've got, starting off, you come in, and as a first year student, you come in and you do 8 weeks of instruction. That's an 8 weeks of teaching and attending classes. In the morning, it's usually made up of the large lectures, and in the afternoon, it's often then made up of smaller workshops where you're doing, like we showed earlier, it's clinical skills, or just group sessions in smaller groups where you're breaking down into the smaller components the issues that you'd learned in the larger lectures. So that is for 8 weeks, and as I said earlier, usually doing around about 25 hours each week. So that's 8 weeks of teaching, and after 8 weeks, we then allow our students to go out into practice, and they go out into clinical practice for 4 weeks. The clinical practice, I will give a little bit more detail to where the clinical practice are done in a later slide. But you're out for 4 weeks, and what you can see then is, usually you've got a study period for 1 week. They do the exams, which are usually done over 2 weeks, and then you normally go on holidays over Christmas, and then you're back in January, usually around either the 2nd week of January, commencement of teaching once again, and you're back after Christmas, and you're doing 9 weeks of teaching, once again, and then you're back out for 4 further weeks of clinical practice. Now, what you're doing in these clinical practices, you're going to the ward areas and you are carrying out the care in a supportive environment where you've got preceptors who preceptor you, who are staff nurses and staff midwives who preceptor you and support you in learning and putting the skills that you've learned in those weeks of theory into practice in a clinical area. Once again, then you've got your holidays and your study, and then you've got your exams, and then you're off for the summer. So if you look there, so semester 2 is a total of 13 weeks, and semester 1 is a total of 12 weeks, and then you have your exam time as well afterwards. Year 2 is something similar, but you're starting off with 6 weeks of clinical placement, and then you're back in for teaching. So we're starting with clinical placement for year 2, and then you're back in for teaching. And then in semester 2, you've got 6 weeks of teaching, and you're back out then again for a further 7 weeks of practice, and you're back in again then in to do your exams, and then you're back out again for a further 4 weeks, which go on into June. So year 2 is slightly extended by 4 weeks more than year 1 and year 3. The teaching in this year for the general nurses is usually a lot of stuff around the specialist nursing things like pediatrics, which is children's nursing. You're also going to be doing a lot of stuff with regard to community nursing practice. You're going to do a thing about looking at other specialities like the learning disabilities and mental health. You're also looking at midwifery. So it gives you an overview of the other things, as along with a lot of the other conditions. You're now starting on the conditions for the general nurses. Year 3 then is made up of, once again, you're got 6 weeks of teaching, then you're out for 6 weeks of instruction, of clinical practice, exams and Christmas holidays, and then you're back out again for a further 6 weeks of clinical practice, and then you're back in for 7 weeks, your exams, and you're off for the summer. The 4th year is slightly different. You're now becoming closer to the end of your 4 years, and what you're doing in this one is that they're really getting your practice ready for clinical practice. So what you have is you've got an intense 8 weeks out in clinical placement to start off your year. You're back in then to put everything together, looking at the important skills. There's a lot of in this 4-year week practice of things, there's a lot of engaging on learning and the role of being leaders, of learning the best principles of practice, and putting everything together that you've learned over the 4 years and getting you ready for going out there in preparation to be a staff nurse. And then you've got your exams, and you're back out after Christmas, but you're out now as an intern, what we call an intern. These are people who are working out in practice, being paid as just below a staff nurse, but you have a less supportive role and you're taking on more responsibility. This is for 36 weeks, and this 36 weeks is broken up into several different ward areas where you go around to, in our case it's medical and surgical wards, different medical and surgical wards in rotations of 9 weeks, and you're out there right up until September when you've completed the program. The setup on the psychiatry and the midwifery is equivalent to this, with the difference that year 2, the extra 4 weeks for the midwifery program is in year 3 instead of it being in year 2. Now, with regards to the theory and the content modules that you will be covering while in class, this is an overview of the subjects that you're going to be covering for each of the years. I'm not going to spend an awful lot of time on each of the subjects, but just as you can see from this gives you an indicator of the types of modules that you're going to be doing on the general program. And once again, I'll have a similar slide for the midwifery and for the psychiatry. So if you will take a look across these, there's a mixture of biological sciences, which is psychology, the applied anatomy. You've also got the sociology in there. You've got health promotion, as well as research. Research has been very, very important as a foundation for learning how to develop and improve practice and see how things are paid. But once again, it goes back to some basic skills such as communication and interpersonal skills, which are seen to be key for nursing and midwifery an essential component of your career. This course, it's a very, very balanced and well mixed course to make you a very rounded individual, to help you prepare for all the different types of scenarios that you'll encounter over your career as a nurse. I'm now going to go on to look at the Bachelor of Nursing Science Psychiatry. The entry points last year for 29 were 402 points, and it actually went down in round 2 to around about 400 points for the lowest points. Once again, there are opportunities for these. There is an even larger number of mature students as a proportion of the students in mental health, and once again, all routes are once again available and open to people. That's access here, there, and also you're allowed to come in through the mature applicant process. So it's open to all of those. And also, I should say for FETech. I will come back to FETech in a while as well, just to mention that later on. Okay, once again, this is a 4-year modular program with 36 weeks internship at year 4, just as it did with the general program. What will you be covering? The clinical instruction include mental health nursing, enduring mental health problems, so dealing with the different types of problems, what are the problems, what are the foundations, where they come from, what cause, and how they are managed. Dealing with older people and dealing with people with Alzheimer's disease is not. The biopsychosocial interventions, so these are interventions for dealing with people who've got a mental health issue, helping them to cope and deal with the issues that are arising for them. You've also got the special client needs are also dealt with. You've also practice modules situated in the clinical setting. Now, the clinical settings for the general program are usually in the acute hospitals, and I'll go through those in a minute once again. But those for the mental health program, there's a combination of in the acute hospital settings, in the mental health units in the acute hospital settings, but also in the community. There's a lot of community placements and right across the whole of the western region, and I will talk about the sites there later. So also on top of that, you'd have other theoretical instruction on nursing studies, biological science and social sciences. And once again, the foundation, the first year, there's a lot of common things in semester 1 that are common between the different programs. These are basic principles that are needed no matter whether it's a general nurse, a psychiatric nurse, or mental health nurse, or also whether it is a midwife. So a lot of the stuff is common in year 1 and it separates out in year 2. So once again, these are the concepts and theories that are covered for each of the years in theory, while the students are in for their weeks of practice. And it gives you a quick overview. Once again, here, a lot of the stuff here is very much about mental health, but as you see in year 1, a lot of the stuff are common across the groups. The Bachelor of Midwifery Science. Bachelor of Midwifery Science, once again, the points here are up at 440, and it has been around those points for the last 3 or 4 years. Once again, all routes of applicants are allowed here. Once again, we have a very high, as a proportion of the overall group, there's a very, very high number of mature students taken on in the midwifery program. And so I might as well give you an overview as well while I'm here of the numbers of students we have. We have got about 120 to 125 students each year coming across the 3 programs. In the general program, we usually have between 65 and 70 students. On the psychiatry program, we have around 30 students. And on the midwifery program, we have 21 students each year. So this program, the midwifery program, it's once again a 4-year modular degree program, and once again you've got clinical practice with a 36-week internship in year 4. What do? They covered antenatal, that means before the birth, during is the labour, and then postnatal after the birth, the manage of the mother, support of the mother, and also the support of the child in these early stages. You've got specialty areas such as neonatal specialist baby care units, you've got community, midwifery, gynecology, mental health, and also theatres, because people who need sections will be going to theatre and you'll be dealing with that. Practical modules in clinical settings. The theoretical instruction is usually in the midwifery centres. The women centred care, normality in births, childbirth at risk, biological sciences, the social sciences, issues in professional midwifery practice. So it's a very, very broad programme once again, and you cover a lot of areas. But once again, it is mainly based around managing and helping the mother to deal with the prenatal, intranatal and the postnatal period. It is not really mainly about managing the child. You will do a little bit about managing the child, but it won't be, you're not mainly engaging with the child. So here gives you an overview with regards to the different modules that you will be covering in the midwifery program. And as you can see, the first year, some overlap between the subjects in this year, but once again some of the other ones then are just particularly focused on midwifery. After year 1 there's very little overlap between the two of them until you come back again to year 4 where there's a much more overlap again. For this one, it's a very, very focused on midwifery care and getting the midwife to be an individual practitioner out there in practice by the time they're completed the programs. So this is and I'm now going to go on to talk about the clinical practice. I've kind of given an indicator earlier on the different areas. So this is kind of how much that the clinical practice in the programs. In year 1, semester 1, you've got 4 weeks, and semester 2, you've got 4 weeks. In year 2, you've got 6 weeks, and semester 2, in semester 2, you've got 6 weeks. In semester 3, you've got an additional 4 weeks of practice for the general and the psychiatry, whereas this extra 4 weeks is done in year 3 with regard to midwifery. So in year 3, you've got semester 1, you've got 6 weeks. In semester 2, you've got 6 weeks, and in trimester 3, you're going to be doing 4 weeks. So that'll take you right up until June. In the 4th year, then you've got 8 weeks of in semester 1 and out in clinical practice, and then in semester 2 you are out for 36 weeks. That's from January, the 1st of January, usually right up until September, and that would be 36 weeks of internship that you're spending out. Now this would be a paid internship where you are out there in practice. So the clinical practice, just again to give you an overview of the type of clinical practice sites. We work in conjunction with the general program and the midwifery program, work in conjunction with the Psychiatry group. And what the Psychiatry group is made up for the general program is the Galway University Hospitals, the Mayo University Hospital and the Portiuncula University Hospital. On top of that, you may also be placed in the Bond Secure Hospital because we've got agreements with the Bond Secure Hospital, and we also have agreements with the Galway Clinic. But that is not the end of your general placements. In year 2 of your programs, you will do a lot of speciality placements, and this means that you will be doing speciality placements in the mental health services. You will also be doing placement in the older person services right across the region, and you will also be doing intellectual disability and public health nurse and community care placements. These placements in year 2 are not in the hospital settings, they are out in community areas right across the region. That goes from Roscommon, Galway, right across anywhere from Connemara, right up across out to the Athlone border. So you will be doing a little bit of travelling in year 2, a lot more thing. The rotation, students will automatically be rotating across the 4 years between the Galway University Hospital and the Mayo University Hospital and the Portiuncula. Sorry, we don't actually use the Mayo University Hospital for the general, but the Portiuncula Hospital, you will be placed for the general program. With regards to the rotation, it is shared equally across all students so that everybody will be equally out of Galway and is shared across all the groups. For the midwifery program, the midwifery students will be going to Galway University Hospital, the Mayo University Hospital, Portiuncula Hospital and the Sligo University Hospital for their midwifery placements. They will also be doing placement in the general hospitals, and they will also be doing some community placements with community midwife and also the public health nurse out in the community. The mental health program is slightly a little bit more diverse in that they have to do a lot more travelling because a lot more of their placements are community-based placements. So where will they be doing? They will be doing the Galway University Hospitals in the acute setting. They will also be doing the Roscommon University Hospital in the acute unit in Roscommon. They will be going to East and West Galway mental health services. That will be to the day units, day centres, day hospitals and continuing care centres right across the whole east and west of Galway, and also the same in the Roscommon mental health services in the day centres, day hospitals and the daycare services for the mental health services. So I'm going to just show on to the next slide to kind of show the spread across the region of the placements that the mental health students have, so you can kind of see the diversity of the placement sites that you're going to have. So as you can see, it's a broad scope going anywhere from almost Castlebar right down to the placements. So we've got a combination there of the general services and the mental health services of where the placement sites are for them. Once again, we try to be as fair and equal to all students, that all students do equal amount of travelling across the 4 years. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. I hope that you got something that gives you a bit of insight into what the programs are all about and what the content of the programs are, so that you might be able to make a decision on this. If you are still querying whether you are suitable for doing this or not, I'd recommend that you take this quick test that's on the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Ireland's thing. It's just a test to see that does nursing suit you. It's a kind of a quiz just to check it. The second thing that we have here is our website, and once again I'd recommend if any of you have any questions or anything to ask, that you send this thing into our website or contact us on Facebook or email us at the School of Nursing, and we will deal with any of the issues that you have. The next is a link to the Nursing and Midwifery guidebook, which is Nursing and Midwifery, a career for you, and I would recommend that every single one of you would go to this site and download the link onto this site and actually go in and read this book very, very carefully if you're considering doing midwifery, general nursing or mental health or any type of nursing at all. I would highly recommend that you would go to this site and look and read that booklet very carefully. There's for any of you who are mature students, I would really recommend that you take great care in looking at the dates of which you have to have things submitted, because there are very clear dates and there are very clear procedures for those that mature which are different than the general nurses. I will just give a few tips overall with regard to making your decision and filling out your CEO. Filling out your CEO is probably going to be the most critical component of you getting where you want and getting the positions that you want. And therefore it is critical that you fill out your CEO form with great care. You need to think carefully about where do you want to go to college to do your program, and which course do you want to put as your priority. And that is what you use to make a decision what you put as your highest priority on your CEO. I would also recommend to spread your options across the multiple colleges that do the course that you do, just in case you don't get the course that you want. Then you will have an alternative course that is doing a similar course to what you want, and that you will end up with a degree. Nursing is a degree program across all the colleges, and so also is midwifery. It's a degree program across all the colleges in this country, and therefore when you finish up with a degree in nursing. And therefore I would recommend that you would spread your options. Put your first choice down for your nursing school, and I would hope that would be NUI Galway. Put that down first. Let that be your first priority. If you do not get that, well then put down the other options. Look at the point systems for last year to see what were the points that were needed for each of the colleges, and put down some of the other colleges that may have lesser points, that if you don't get the points requirement that you expected, that you don't waste another year, that you go and you start your career choice. It is very important for you not just to put all your eggs in one basket. Spread them across multiple places. Also, I need you to make sure that you put down your first choice first. Even if you don't think you're going to get the points for it, you should put it down just in case everything works out well and you do get the points. Every September I get several phone calls from parents saying that my daughter didn't think that they would get Galway general nursing, but they got the points for it, but they didn't put it down in their CEO as their first choice and they didn't get it. They got offered somewhere else. What can you do? The problem is, if you don't put it down as your first choice, then you won't get that as your first option. And therefore you will get your second option, and therefore you will not be able to change. So I am telling you, get your CEO right before you did. Nursing, to finish up, nursing is a wonderful career. I have been 34 years nursing, between intellectual disability, general nursing, in Ireland, in the Middle East, and in other countries. It has been the most rewarding career. I am now lecturing, and the options that I had over the years and the areas that I've worked have been diverse. It allows you to progress. There are a whole lot of additional programs that you can do so that you can go into specialised nursing care and midwifery care once you've completed your initial qualification. It gives you a key to a much wider scope of practices, specialities, and it gives you a key to the world. I wish you the very, very best, and if you do need to contact us, please look us up at our website on the School of Nursing and Midwifery, and you will find all our contacts, and you can contact me at any time if you have any questions and you require any further details. Thanking you for taking this time.